In this video, we're going over the top 10 fastest zones to level in, meaning zones that give the most amount of XP for the amount of time spent inside of them. Technically, almost all of the Warlords of Draenor zones are the fastest zones to level in, but that would make a pretty boring top 10 list, and WoD only has 7 zones anyway. So we're going to mix it up a bit for those speed levelers who are sick and tired of leveling in WoD over and over again. And at number 10, we have Hellfire Peninsula, the first zone players enter for WoW's first expansion, the Burning Crusade. This zone is great to level in because there are simply so many quests to do here, and it was intentionally designed this way as it was a way to start the whole TBC expansion. Hellfire Peninsula is the zone with the most quests out of all of the Burning Crusade zones, with some 75 quests in total for both Horde and Alliance. You can easily get at least 10 levels out of the zone alone with modern WoW's Chromie Time feature, which is the metric we'll be using for all the spots on this list. If you really pushed it, you could probably do all the quests in the zone in 90 minutes to 2 hours. Most of the quests in this dusty and barren zone involve defeating the Burning Legion, as well as Illidan's Foul Orcs. The quest in the zone eventually leads to the Hellfire Citadel dungeons, the raid Magtheridon's lair, and then branch out into the other zones through breadcrumb quests, mainly Zangarmarsh. The first quest acquired from Chromie in the TBC leveling timeline has the player go through the Dark Portal to enter Outland and Hellfire Peninsula. There are 2 ways to get to the Hellfire Peninsula, an easy way and a hard way. Unfortunately, Blizzard removed the portals to the Dark Portal from Stormwind and Orgrimmar and BFA when they consolidated most of the portals into the portal rooms. However, Blizzard did foresee some of the consequences of this and added some easier ways to get to Hellfire Peninsula for players. For Alliance players, Hellfire Peninsula is easily accessible from the Honor Hold Mage in the tower in the Mage District of Stormwind. This NPC is the first in a circle of 4 directly upon entering the tower. And for Horde players, there's an NPC who will teleport you to the Hellfire Citadel underneath the portal room, right in front of the portal that takes you to the Terrakar Forest. If mages have learned this spell, they can also teleport to Stonard, which is in the Swamp of Sorrows just north of the Blasted Lands. One notable thing about Hellfire Peninsula is the world PvP objectives, which Blizz really tried to push in almost all of the TBC zones. If one faction controls all 3 flags for the 3 tower icons in the middle of the map, that faction receives a zone-wide buff called Hellfire Superiority, which is a 5% increased damage buff. If the player gets 5 marks of Thrallmar or 5 marks of Honor Hold, they can get the Thrallmar Favor buff, or Honor Hold, which increases experience gained by 5% and has a 30-minute duration. Although these PvP quests are optional complete, as they're not everybody's cup of tea. Most of the quest hubs in the zone are pretty far away from one another, and some quests send the players back and forth across zones several times. The quests are not linear and kinda send you willy-nilly across the zone, even back to the same area multiple times with slightly different activities. This means it's not the most efficient way to gain experience and waste time going from place to place a lot. Additionally, the notorious Fel Reaver is constantly walking around the zone, ready to squash any players who are foolish enough to get in its way. Normally, Burning Crusade zones are not very efficient from a speed leveling perspective, because of how much time is wasted with a lot of the old quest designs. But, of the oldest zones in the game, Hellfire Peninsula is the best of the bunch. And at number 9, we have Ashenvale. This zone is located in the north-central part of the continent in Kalimdor. The zone saw its first iteration in Classic and was redone in Cataclysm, so we'll be focusing on the Cataclysm version. There are some 60 or so quests to do in the zone, and to do all the quests in the zone might take an average player some 2 hours. Players can expect to get around 10 levels of experience in the zone through questing in total. Another good thing about the zone is that most of the quest lines are contained to a portion of the zone and are pretty linear. Additionally, players can find a lot of lore and important places in the zone, such as where Grommash Hellscream, Garrosh's father, died after sacrificing himself to save the orcs from the Burning Legion. Alliance players can access Ashenvale by traveling through Darkshore from Darnassus. However, they must traverse almost the entirety of Darkshore first, and the main road in the zone was destroyed in many places during the Cataclysm. For Horde players, Ashenvale is pretty much straight west of Orgrimmar, although if they don't have flying, they might have to go through the zones of Ajara or Northern Barrens if they don't have flying yet to get there. Now, some of the main drawbacks of the zone is that some of the quests can be slow and janky. One of the most infamous of these is Vortex, in which the player must control an elemental to kill a large flying elemental named Lorg Magmathar. This quest can be buggy and often has the player dying before they can finish the quest, meaning they have to fly around on the elemental again for several minutes. Additionally, several quests in the zone can be somewhat slow and grindy. There are a lot of hostile mobs throughout the zone, including invisible panthers. Also, the player might unwittingly wander into a camp from the other faction since they are often hard to see until you get near them, and before you realize it, you're one-shotted by the guards there. Finally, the zone itself is very wide, meaning it can take a while if you need to go large lateral distances. And at number 8, we have the Hillsbrad Foothills from both Classic and the newer version from Cataclysm. This zone is a contested zone, meaning both Horde players and Alliance players can level here, but we'll be looking at it from a Horde player's perspective since the Alliance quests here are much more lackluster. The zone has a lot of quests, and an average player might be able to do the zone in 90 minutes if they speedrun it. In total, the zone has 45 odd quests or so, and can give a player at least 7 levels worth of experience. There are 2 major lore features of the zone. Firstly, it was originally home to the city of Dalaran, but since then the city has been teleported several times and is now a large crater. Secondly, Hillsbrad also houses the entrance to the Alterac Valley battleground. The zone is well known for its interesting and fun quests and colorful and fascinating characters. The zone even has some meta quests to it, as it sees players handing out quests as if they were an NPC themselves in the quest Welcome to the Machine. Every Horde player has leveled in the zone will remember the hijinks and shenanigans of Johnny Awesome, Dumas, and Orcus. Other memorable quests include squashing human heads or releasing them while doing the quest Do the Right Thing, and the Plants vs. Zombie questline with the Goblin in the northwest of the zone. This zone is pretty easy for Horde players to access as it's simply across the lake behind the ruins of Lordaeron City. Horde players can go through Silverpine and then enter the zone. A drawback of the zone for Alliance players would be the distance needed to travel to get here. Alliance players must travel a long way from Ironforge to get here, through Chasm Dan, Dun Moreau, wetlands, across the Thandol Span Bridge, and then through the Kata Arathi Highlands. Several quests can be janky, like the spider one in the mines named Coastal Delicacies, and the giant Yeti that might one-hit you if you're on the quest Yetimus the Yeti Lord. Other headache-inducing quests include the one where you have to capture SI-7 spies at the Banshee, and the whole Durnhold challenge, which sees you run repeatedly back to the same place to kill different mobs. Overall, the zone is playful, colorful, and interesting, and not only provides a great leveling experience, but also a fun one. And at number 7, we have Westfall. This zone was originally designed as one of the first few leveling zones for Alliance players, and still reflects that almost 20 years later. Although the zone was redone in Cataclysm, the storyline still revolves around the Defiance Brotherhood and discontent with Stormwind's leadership there. The zone is also home to the Dead Mines, a dungeon which serves as a climax to the zone's story. There are a ton of quests to do here, most of which are quick and easy for fast experience gain. Players can do most, if not all of the quests in the zone in under an hour and get at least 7 levels. Most are quite fun, like helping a detective solve a murder, or making some delicious mud pies. However, there are some boring and grindy quests, notably the Murloc RNG one in the north. The zone's story overall isn't too compelling or interesting since the Cataclysm revamp. There's some mystery as to who the new leader of the Defiance Brotherhood is, and why the Defiance Brotherhood is seeing a resurgence. Additionally, the quests are spaced pretty far apart, and you have to do a lot of traveling to get to one quest area to the next. The overall story of the zone is pretty linear, which is good since you don't have to backtrack to do too many quests. The zone is pretty easy for Alliance players to get to, as it is a little southwest of Stormwind and the players can walk there on a wide, well-guarded road. It is a bit of a flight from the Stranglethorn Zeppelin for Horde players to get there. However, Westfall is a designated Alliance area, meaning there are no quests for Horde players here anyway. Even if there is no incentive for Horde players to go to the zone, that doesn't mean you won't find any ganking if you run War Mode, as the zone is a notorious hotspot for max-level Horde players to steamroll over low-leveled Alliance players leveling here. And at number 6, we have Talador from the expansion Warlords of Draenor. Players can complete all the quests in the zone in about 90 minutes and get around 10 levels. The zone has a lot of bonus objectives and a lot of treasures in a pretty concentrated area, making leveling pretty fast here. For example, during BFA, one could gain a level or 2 from just looting treasures in the north part of the zone and doing objectives. Talador is much easier for Alliance players to get to since it's not too far away from the Alliance garrison in Shadowmoon Valley. Horde players have a much harder time getting there since they do have to go through a zone or 2. Players can also have portals made in their garrisons in the Mage Tower, but that requires a lot of the garrison campaign and getting resources. However, the main garrison campaign only lasts for a short time and gives a ton of experience. Part of the reason Talador's quests are so lackluster was because Shattrath was supposed to be a raid, but was cut along with a lot of content for WoD. In fact, there was so much cut content from Warlords of Draenor that I have a full video on it. Some drawbacks of the zone include boring and sometimes confusing quests and storylines. Additionally, the zone can be hard to navigate as it's split up oddly with lakes and rivers everywhere, which can be a headache if you don't have flying and don't want to swim. Almost everywhere in the zone, hostile mobs can be found, meaning you may have a hard time finding a break from combat. The zone is not perfect in any way, but does provide a ton of experience, which is why it's still on this list and at number 6. And at number 5, we have Stranglethorn Vale. Because there are over 50 quests in the zone, players can get around 10 levels of experience doing all the quests in the zone in maybe just under 90 minutes if they're lucky with RNG and drops. Even better, most of the quests are pretty easy to do, meaning leveling here can be pretty fast. One of the things that makes the zone good to level in is the ease of access for Horde players. All they have to do is take the Zeppelin to Stranglethorn Vale from one of the Zeppelin towers in Orgrimmar. Alliance players, on the other hand, have a somewhat long walk or flight path from Stormwind, having to go through Westfall or Duskwood. There are some drawbacks to the zone, which is why it's only the number 5. Stranglethorn Vale was notorious for ganking back in the day, and still is even now, but to a lesser extent. Stranglethorn is full of hostile mobs everywhere, so much so that not even most roads are safe because of the massive amount of hostile mobs that you wander into all over the zone. This means it can be very hard to catch a break from combat and you can get overwhelmed by many mobs at once easily. Some of the paths and the roads in the zone can meander back and forth, and there are several rivers full of hungry crocodiles if you need to cross one without a bridge. Additionally, while most of the quests in Stranglethorn are fine by Cataclysm questing standards, there are some that can be long and grindy, such as the Hemet Nessie quest, which awards the achievement The Green Hills of Stranglethorn. And at number 4, we have Elwynn Forest. This was the first zone many players have ever quested through in both its classic version and the redone version in Cataclysm. The zone is most famously known as a starting zone for humans. There are a large number of quests here, and most of the quests are fast and easy to do, providing a great way to get levels fast. Players can expect to do all the quests within 45 minutes to an hour and gain at least 7 levels. Elwynn Forest has the simplest zone layout out of all the starting zones and also some of the easiest quests to do, usually to help ease the new players into the game. There's a reason Hogger is a meme, as the zone itself is often full of nostalgia for old players. The zone is easily accessible for Alliance, as it's literally the doorsteps of Stormwind. The few drawbacks to the zone include that the questlines themselves are not quite linear, and you might find yourself going back to several places over and over again, wasting time. The questing hubs are also somewhat spaced apart, though this is in part just due to Elwynn's long and short size. Some of these areas are quite full of mobs, and pulling a lot by accident can happen, but you can usually find guards and NPCs not too terribly far away if you ever run into trouble. And just run to them and they will start attacking any mobs that you've aggroed. From a gameplay perspective, of course, the first zone you step into is going to be a good one for leveling and keeping your interest up. And at number 3, we have Highmountain from Legion. Leveling in Legion is also a great way to make gold, as all of the AP is now just trash items that give gold with artifact weapons disabled. The zone contains a ton of quests which players can usually complete within 2 hours if they speedrun it. The zone has some 80 or so quests and can easily give a player at least 15 levels or so. The majority of the quests sees players uniting the Highmountain Tauren and pushing back the Burning Legion and the Fel Totem Tauren aligned with them. The crux of the story is the zone revolves around facing off against Drogbar, who wields a Titan artifact weapon. The culmination of this being the dungeon Niltharion's lair. Highmountain is somewhat unique in its design in that Thunder Totem, the central city, is located roughly in the middle of the zone and acts as a big questing hub, making questing here pretty easy. A lot of the quests radiate out linearly from Thunder Totem and make their way back to it again. And of course, there's also a ton of bonus objectives, treasures, and rares throughout the zone which give plenty of experience. Thunder Totem is in the top part of the Broken Isles and can take a while to get there from Dalaran via flight paths. Some classes can avoid this with specific Legion Order Hall mechanics. For example, Druids can simply fly from their Order Hall over to there. The Hunter Order Hall is in Highmountain, Warriors have the ability to leap down from Skyhold, and the Mage Order Hall can have portals open to various Broken Isle zones, including Highmountain. The main problem with the zone is that it unsurprisingly has some tall mountains and rugged terrain. There's a lot of verticality throughout the zone, which can be especially frustrating if you don't have flying. For example, the elevators in Thunder Totem are notorious for having people fall to their deaths from fall damage from the upper levels. Additionally, there are tons of caves and caverns which must be traversed and gone through for quests, such as the one where you help Mila go through the mountain in which Ebonhorn reveals his true nature as a black dragon at the end. The zone is enjoyable to level in and a lot of the quests are fun, but its geographical attributes landed at only number 3. And at number 2, we have Silverpine Forest in the Cataclysm iteration. This zone is a Horde zone, meaning unfortunately, only Horde players can level here. First, let's talk about the layout of the zone. Geographically speaking, Shadowfiend Keep and the Gilnean Wall dominate the southern part of the zone. To the east lies the Lordaeron Lake, and to the west are small mountains and the coast. Silverpine Forest is at number 2 on this list because not only is the zone's storyline and aesthetic top tier, but most of the quests in the zone are pretty fun and easy and fast as well. The overall story in the zone is generally linear and sends you further south to each new quest hub. There's a great story and a lot of lore in the zone, eventually leading up to one of Sylvanas' deaths, the invasion of Gilneas, and the subsequent battle for Gilneas. There are a lot of quests in the zone, and the average player might take 45 minutes to an hour if they speedrun it. The zone has 60 or so quests that give a player at least 10 levels worth of experience. The zone is easily accessible for Horde, as it's almost right around the corner from the front of Undercity. As mentioned earlier, Alliance have no incentives to travel here, and it's a long journey to even get to Silverpine for them anyway. There are a few places in this zone that are dense with mobs that can make leveling a bit of a pain, as you have to make sure you don't run into too many of them at once. One example from these places in this zone is Fenris Isle, which you need to go to for the quest No Escape, and at the end of which Agatha, one of Sylvanas' 9 Valkyrie, rescues you from the Worgen. All the lurking Worgen in the zone and the spiders in front of the Skittering Dark Cave in the north part of the zone can also be a headache if you pull too many. There are only a few janky quests in the zone, the most notable being Hair of the Dog, in which you spray drunken orc sailors in order to awaken them from their hangovers. Also, only some quests can be done while doing quests with the NPC, Lord Godfrey, which is rather odd. These two quests include I Never Forget a Face and From the Belly of the Beast. Silverpine Forest is one of the best leveling zones in the entire game, because it's engaging, exciting, and has lots of easy, fast quests to gain a ton of experience, meaning it fits perfectly the number 2 spot on this list. And at number 1, we have the Shadowmoon Valley from Warlords of Draenor. Technically, it is a zone for both factions to quest in, but is the introduction and starting zone for Alliance players in Warlords of Draenor, and will focus on the Alliance perspective of those quests. There are a massive number of quests to do here, just shy of 100 in total. A player can get the zone done in under an hour to 90 minutes, if they really wanted to, and get some 15 levels of experience. A big part of why this zone is so well loved is because of its unique aesthetics and spooky yet peaceful feel. The Shadowmoon Burial Grounds dungeon is located towards the middle of the zone, and Occamdune is located in the middle east of the zone. And most importantly, the Alliance garrison is located in the northeast of the zone. Not only do the Warlords of Draenor garrison quest and campaign provide a ton of easy experience, but the zone itself also has a ton of quests not far away from the Alliance garrison. Additionally, there are a lot of extra bonus objectives, which offer a ton of experience, and they are also not too terribly far away from the garrison either. None of the quests in the zone are particularly challenging, and most can be done without too much work, making this zone the best to level in. Not to mention, of course, that the zone itself is teeming with treasures which give a ton of experience, and there are also a ton of rares as well. To make things even more convenient, most of the treasures can be found in a somewhat circular pattern if an Alliance player sets out south from their garrison and works their way around zone clockwise. By doing this, the player can gain at least 5 levels through experience and get a whole bunch of trash to sell for a lot of gold. One of the few drawbacks of the zone is that to gain access to the zone, you have to do the Warlords of Draenor intro, which can be a real bore for some players who've done it a million times already. However, there is a way around this. If you go to the Timeless Isle, there's an underwater cave on the south side of the island. In this cave, you'll find a bonfire. Upon clicking on the bonfire, you'll be transported to a place in the far east of Gorgon, a zone from Warlords of Draenor. From there, you can make your way south to the Shadowmoon Valley. It's not a short trip, but it is preferable if you hate the WoD introduction and all of its long RP. The only other thing wrong with the zone is that it has some slight phasing issues, so sometimes it can be difficult or impossible to get certain treasures after the area has been phased due to a quest. The zone's story may not be the best, since a lot of the stuff was cut from Warlords of Draenor, but it does have its moment, like Velen sacrificing himself and entrusting the future of the alt Warlords of Draenor's Draenei to Ural. Overall, Shadowmoon Valley is number 1 on this list because it just has so many easy quests associated with both the garrison and the zone itself, a ton of bonus objectives, and lots of treasures which also give experience. It might not be the most fun zone to level in, but it certainly is the most efficient and fastest. Alright, and that's the list. Do you know of any other zones that are way faster than the ones listed that should have been in the video? Or have ideas for future videos just like this one? If so, I'd love to hear about those things down in the comments. Just a quick little aside, I launched a new Hearthstone channel recently, which has videos similar to this channel, i.e. scripted, highly edited top 10s. So if you're a fan of Hearthstone, you should check it out. Link will be in the video description and at the end of this video.